sensing this danger. This is the greatest showman! He is floating on air now!
The Multicultural AFL Footy Show with Venessa, Harbir, Fouad and George Grossios.
Hello and welcome to the Multicultural AFL Footy Show. I am Venessa and on tonight's panel are Harbir, George and Fouad on remote in Adelaide. Hello guys.
Hello Venessa.
Hi everyone.
Hello Venessa and hello everyone.
Preliminary final week of the AFL Final Series produced landslide wins for both Melbourne Demons and the Western Bulldogs, who marched into the grand final with relative ease to be played at Optus Oval in Perth on the 25th of September. Last Friday night from Optus, Melbourne couldn't ask for a better game when they faced Geelong in the first preliminary final. The game was virtually over in the first quarter, with the Demons striking hard and fast to end up 27 points in front and continuing on onslaught for the next three quarters, running out 83 points winners, 19-11, 125 to 6-42. On Saturday, Port Adelaide, playing at home from Adelaide Oval, had another go at winning at prelim for the second year in a row. Whoever wrote the script forgot about the Western Bulldogs, who challenged them for a place in the grand final. The Western Bulldogs started the game with a barrage of 7 goals to take the early lead by 37 points and completely disgrace and dismantle Port Power to defeat them by 71 points, 17-14, 116 to 6-9-45. Harbir, emphatic wins for the Doggies and the Demons. What did you make of the two excellent finals?
Yeah, well, all I can say is the teams who were at the top for most of the season are in the grand final. I think that's probably the best thing you can ask for. We know that Melbourne had a flat patch in the middle of the side and Bulldogs towards the end of the season. But in the end, if you look back, I think these were the two top teams and they are rightfully in the grand final. However, the way preliminary finals were played, I think that was sad that the other team just didn't show up. That's what it looked like. And especially if you talk about the Melbourne game, Max Gawn, he just single-handedly tackled that game. And it's just amazing how a ruckman can do that. Imagine like him doing a good performance in the finals and winning a Norm Smith. Wouldn't that be like exciting and something out of this world? But huge credit to Max Gawn. I think he's been a great captain. No doubt he's All-Australian captain as well. He's been fabulous right through the series, and he's been leading his resources very well. And we've seen that in this game too. The way he led from the front, and I think some of the goals which he couldn't believe that he could have kicked. And it was pretty amazing what he has done, and he has helped Petrarca, Oliver, all of them in the middle, where they're having a fantastic season, and that's exactly what we saw in that game.
Yeah, look, I thought Melbourne's defence was brilliant as well, Harbir. Let's not forget about them. They kept Geelong to 5 goals at half-time, 5-1-31, and they kicked one behind in the third quarter. And it was a fantastic performance by the backman. An early scare when Stephen May went off with a slight hamstring concern. Hopefully that won't keep him out of the grand final. We'll keep an eye on that. And he's been one of their key backmen along with Jake Lever. He had another fantastic performance, keeping Jeremy Cameron to just 2 goals. And the other Jake Bowie, who's been unheralded, one of the youngsters in the Demons team, had another great game, and also Harrison Petty. So a great defensive performance, keeping Geelong to just 6 goals for the whole night, which is astounding when you consider the firepower the Cats have. Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron and Gary Rowan, who again did not perform. He has a very bad track record. And also wanted to make mention of Christian Salem, who again, fantastic match. He's been a very consistent performer. And Fouad, what did you make of the Cats, particularly their forward players and the Demons forward players?
Well, they were non-existent. They just I agree with you guys. They didn't turn up. Tom Hawkins and all the other forwards just did not. They were not switched on, and it's just a credit to Melbourne. They were fighting for everything. A young, talented players. They're playing for each other. They're dying for every ball. And I tell you what, they're tackling and the kicking, and they just were incredible on the night. But that is not Geelong of the past.
If we look at the Bulldogs, they found it really hard. It looks like the governments were going against them, all the odds were going against them, and that much of a travel, and it was hard for them to just even get like stretching of the legs. I think huge credit to them that they took it all on board and became more resilient, and they fought with vengeance. Like you could see that even they were up by that many points, but until the end, still they were fighting for even 1 point. So that was just awesome. And having Stephen Martin back in the ruck, I think that paid huge dividend, because last time Scott Lysett, he had the big advantage over Young and others at that time. But and on the other side, it was good to see that the midfield getting into that form, which they the issue that they have before getting into the final series of clearances, I think they overcome that. And they all have found their mojo now. You can see like the way Dunkley played, the way he played his role. Trilo, he came up, and just the usual suspects, Winai, Liba, McRae, Bontempelli. Like it's just too good. And especially in this game coming up, finals, and then Bailey Smith. Like I can't believe that when you talk about this game, he's the guy you talk about. And it's not Bontempelli comes in front of that. He scored 4 goals in that at 20 years of age, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Harbir. I just thought that Beveridge outsmarted the opposition coach, having Shaki make Alia accountable, because we know how wonderful Alia is with his intercept marks, and he was able to basically make him accountable, and it allowed the Western Bulldogs to dominate the defence.
And it's just, I'd like to just say something. It's a credit to the Bulldogs. They have played 5 games outside Melbourne, and they visited, a few cities. And when they came to Adelaide, hey, that's, they did it the hard way. They couldn't even train on the main stadium, Adelaide Crows. But also they did their homework. The coach outclassed Hinkley here in Adelaide. Because if you look at Checkley, he did a great job. He did not go in front of Ilia. He was behind Ilia, and that's how he won the marks, and they been able to score the goals. So full credit to the Bulldogs. They did it the hard way, and it started in Brisbane by winning by 1 point. And here we go. History will be made.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back with you on the other side of this break. Welcome back. The Brownlow Medal is up for grabs again. Sunday evening, the AFL will commence the count for the league's most prestigious individual award, the First and Best Player of the Year. Fouad, you can start the discussion, please.
Well, I do like, I'm not biased, but I do like Ollie Wines. He's been pretty steady all year. He has played some solid games. He doesn't score a lot of goals, but he's a team player, and he's contributed well. And I think the only thing that I'm scared of is Travis Boyd, because Travis is another good player that he may take some votes from him, because he pulled for some votes in a few good games. So my gut feeling, it says he's there. Because if you look at the other players like Clayton Oliver from Melbourne and Christian Petracca, they will be against each other. They'll pull from each other. So I think that might leave Ollie Wines as a clear winner. What do you think, guys?
Well, Fouad, I believe that Travis Boak will outpole his teammate. I think he actually had a better season.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
So you're right, they both had fantastic seasons. Obviously, when you're winning a lot of games and when you're under the umpire's nose, and we know, of course, it's a midfielder's award. If you look back at the history of the Brownlow Medal over the last 10 years, it's been the midfielders. the defenders and the full forwards, unfortunately, they're discriminated against. They kick the goals and they save the goals, but they don't get the votes. It's the midfielders. So, but I would expect St Kilda's Jack Still to have a good poll. I think he'll do really, really well. St Kilda had a disappointing season. They only won the 10 matches. So that may potentially cost him from a higher finish. I still think he'll get somewhere between 25 to 30 votes. He was clearly St Kilda's most outstanding player in what was, as we said, a terrible season. An honourable mention, not that it means anything in the count, but Took Miller. Mm-hmm. He's ineligible, but he still will poll a lot of votes because he was clearly the best player for the Gold Coast Suns in what was a shocking season. They only had, I believe, the 7 wins. Mm-hmm. They came 16th, and he was the shining light all season. So I would expect him to get close to 22, 23 votes. Your boy, Marcus Bontempelli, Harbir?
Yeah, I believe Marcus Bontempelli, I'm not even sure he might still win it with all the things that you mentioned, that everyone cutting each other's votes. But he definitely would have been my favourite if it wasn't for that slump that we had towards the end of the season in the Team Bulldogs. So I think that might put him down a bit, and that sort of raises the chances of Ollie Wines more to be in the front. Travis Boak had, as you guys mentioned, that he will have the influence. So will Oliver and Petrarca on each other. The other player that I'm looking forward to is Sam Walsh, like how many votes he gets, because he, as you said about Toke Miller, like he was a shining light. That the day he has joined Carlton, he's been outstanding, and he's been carrying the whole team at the moment. His performance, win or lose, his performance will be up there. He just said he couldn't get the support from other players. So I think he will poll well too. I think it's going to be a very tight one. Who comes on the top, we'll see it on the night. But to me, I think Ollie Wines might get it this year, and Marcus Bontempelli probably be the second. But it'll be a close finish.
I think Darcy Parish will poll very well as well. So if you were to choose an outsider, look no further than Darcy Parish. Essendon, towards the back half of the season, played really well. They notched up some important wins, some impressive performances, particularly from Darcy Parish. He was instrumental in a lot of those victories. So, again, I think he'll poll somewhere between 20, 25 votes. Yeah. And he'll come home with the surge. Fouad, you've been keeping a very close eye on the Adelaide Crows all year. Are there any players from the Crows, despite their disappointing season, that might poll quite well? Someone like, for example, a Tex Walker.
The only one is Taylor Walker, because he voted. He got a lot of votes early in the year because he was just bagging goals after goals, like 5, 4, 6 goals. So he would have got some votes. But having said that, the only thing that I'm worried, well, not worried, but I just want to ask you boys, do you think sometimes we overrate so many players and we think that they are the favourite to win it, and there comes a dark horse from nowhere and we don't know it? Do you think that could happen this year?
Yeah, definitely it can happen. We can't deny the fact. But generally, overall, you get that notion that who's going to be up there with the Brownlow, and generally the predictors, they sort of get it right, and you can probably see the performances as well, because the dark horses, like they haven't performed the whole year. Like the people like we mentioned, Sam Walsh, Darcy Parish, like they were good, but maybe not the consistently whole year, and that's probably what puts them back or so. Otherwise, Jack McRae, like he continuously gets so many possessions. I believe he will win at some point, the way he is going at the moment. So, but this year he should get some votes of Bontempelli probably too in some of the games. But Bontempelli, he's been so much influential that although he gets all the possessions, and this time Bontempelli was able to score a lot of goals too as compared to his previous seasons. Sure. So that's what makes him extra better this year. Otherwise, Jack McRae would have got a lot of his votes. Other player like Isaac Heaney, I think the Sydney, they were very influential this year. and they were probably one of the favourites going in the finals to win this year. And Isaac Heaney, because he couldn't play so many games, I think that's probably why he won't be able to make it. But he's another player who will probably poll well, whichever game he played. I think he's been influential, so he will poll few votes too. But it's going to be a memorable night. It's going to be a close one. That's probably what we all want. And we hope it's a close one. And there's no sort of clear winner. And whoever comes on the top would truly deserve it.
Well, the informed player is Bontempelli. I think what hurts him is the last 3 games of the season for you guys, because just to lose him, and I think he didn't get any votes. So that is pretty sad, because he would have been a favourite. Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you, guys. My pick for the Brownlow Medal is also Marcus Bontempelli, because he kicked the most amount of goals, and as a midfielder also, probably kicked the goal of the year. Do you remember that goal that was in the side? A very difficult goal. My favorite of him.
Definitely.
So yeah.
And also because you're a Western Bulldog supporter.
And also I am.
Yeah,
I can hide it.
Yeah, we can't look beyond Bontempelli. That's it.
Well, we are off to a break. When we come back, we will discuss how teams went this year and their 2022 prospects. You are with the Multicultural AFL Footy Show. The Melbourne Demons and the Western Bulldogs will face each other in the Grand Final Saturday week. We'll share our thoughts on which side will win the Grand Final in the next week's show. But in the meantime, our panel is ready to share their thoughts for season 2022 potential success stories. George, what are your thoughts, please?
Yeah, look, I think GWS Giants are going to be the improvers for next season. As long as they can have a better start. This year, of course, they started with a 0-3 performance, lost those early games which really made it difficult for them midway and then towards the back half of the season. So they had to play catch-up football. And as long as Toby Green can stay out of trouble and not get reported every second or third week, and of course it all comes down to injuries. They had a horrific run with injuries, the Giants, and as long as they can manage that injury list, they will do really, really well. Fouad, your thoughts about any of those other sides in or outside the top 8?
Well, I'm just, I'm surprised, about the 2 failed or 3 failed clubs that they didn't perform up to expectations. Carlton is one of them. They promised a lot, but they delivered nothing. And I honestly believe the coaching saga affected them during the year, because it never went away. And then when you look at St Kilda, we thought that they were coming, and they started well, and then they faded away. But when you look at also West Coast, they never got it right. Aging team, and they lost 6 or 7 in a row. But that's what I see. Like Richmond, the flag holder from last year, they never made the top 8. So they're the ones that I thought missed it. But don't get me wrong, next year they'll be back.
Yeah. I think to me, Essendon would be another success story. They've already shown that glimpse this year. The way their players are gelling together, I think they will have enough motivation to go next year right to the end. And looks like they've already securing good players from the other teams as well. We will see what happens during the trade season. But the way that team has gelled together with their own coach and players together, I think that's going to be another team to look for next year.
I reckon Freo will be another improver, and especially if they get their man from Brisbane. And don't underestimate the Crows, because remember they were the wooden spooners last year. They improved by 4 or 5 places. So I think they'll be okay, and I agree with you. But the other one that it came very well, they did very well this year after having a disaster year last year, is Sydney Swans. So I reckon they will come strong as well. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I agree with that, Fouad, but I'm also concerned about Geelong. They had 11 players over the age of 30 that took the field against Melbourne. So they have some serious questions and concerns about their list management. They're going to need to draft some youth, and I expect them to be the big drop-off for next season.
And to me, another team which will excel next year will be the Wooden Spooners this year. I think North Melbourne, they proved this year that they are a team on a building. So they are actually building something forward. So I think they would be a team to watch next year too. And I believe it's going to be a huge improvement, and even this year, like, they were Wooden Spooners, but I think they were very respectable Wooden Spooners this year, especially how they played during the later part of the year. At Gold Coast, I think if they can hold on to their players, and they've got enough energy, enough youth, enough exuberance in their team that they can surprise a few teams. I think they surprised a few teams this year as well. Bulldogs had a hard time winning them as well, and a few other teams too. And next year, I think if Stuart Dew can stay and their players can gel together, they have a good potential too. But as I mentioned before, North Melbourne would be another good one.
I'll throw West Coast Eagles into the mix as a team that will fall off the pace as well. They're an ageing team as well. They have quite a number of players over the age of 30 that they need to regenerate, and very soon.
Thank you, guys. Okay, panel, just shifting focus. What are your thoughts on the stand rule and the holding the ball interpretation?
Well, I suppose holding the ball, it's getting very, very ambiguous, like as a way you don't know what the actual rule is, and I think there needs to be more clarity around that, because this year it's been a bit of a shock for a lot of followers of AFL, that what is exactly the umpires want and what they want us to do. Player can go like a 360-degree turn or so, and still he's managed to get off or something like that, and then it's not holding the ball. And then few other instances where you think that, okay, we want to change our game, we want to make it better or so, but there is some rules which are which make our game. So they shouldn't be changed like that. So the main part is tackling, and then if you are sort of taking the tackling away from the game by doing that. So I think that's a rule that definitely needs to be considered. And with the stand rule, look, I'm kind of happy with that rule. The reason is one of the main things with AFL was that they wanted the teams to score freely, and I think that has definitely helped moving away as well, with where the player gets the freedom to move around. I know it's a bit harsh on the other team, but I think that's still a rule that should stay as it is.
I really hate that stand the mark rule, guys, because it is so anti-competitive. The whole point of the game is to apply pressure and out muscle and outrun and out tackle your opposition, and this rule basically allows your opposition to have free run. I understand that it allows for faster play, but at least give the opposition an opportunity to apply pressure.
Well, I really like the stand on the mark rule, because in my opinion they bring lots of goals in this season, so it's more easy to score a goal, so I reckon it was good for the game.
Well, the only thing I don't like about it is when the person has got the ball and he's going for a kick and he changes his mind, he wants to handball the ball to one of his own players, and then the guy standing on the mark start moving, and then he gets penalised for 50-metre penalty. I don't think that's fair. If he changes his mind and he's not going to kick the ball, it's too bad. That's what I don't like about it.
Thank you, guys. That is all we have time for this week. You can also watch us in Adelaide on Channel 44 Friday evenings, on Aurora Foxtel TV at midday Saturday, and on the NEMBC YouTube. You are listening to this podcast on the Community Radio Network, and the AFL Home and Away Diversity Language News will be back on national multicultural radio stations at the start of the 2022 season. I am Venessa Gatica.
I'm Harbir Singh.
I'm George Gracios.
And I'm Fouad Andraus.
Thank you, and see you next week for our grand final show.
sensing this danger.